You'd think being a twin meant equal footing, like a built-in best friend, a mirror reflection of who you are. But that wasn't my reality. Anna was the golden child. She always shined, always sparkled, while I was there. Don't get me wrong, I loved her, but it was hard not to notice the way our parents, Evelyn and Richard, saw us as two completely different people. To them, Anna was the star, and I was her shadow. I remember sitting at the piano, quietly humming melodies that came to me, while Anna belted out scales under the guidance of the best vocal coach in town. Evelyn would stand by with that proud smile on her face, while Richard recorded every note on his phone. My own music didn't matter much to them. I'd scribble lyrics in my notebook, tucked away in the corner, and sometimes I'd think, what if they just listened? What if I sang one of my songs? Would they even notice? But they never did, unless Anna needed something. It was always like that. Whenever Anna hit a creative block or couldn't finish a lyric, our parents would nudge her toward me, saying, Eleanor can help. She's good with words. And I'd help because deep down, I wanted her to succeed too. But there was always this tiny part of me that wondered, why can't they see that I'm more than just Anna's assistant? By the time we were 16, Anna was already being groomed for stardom. Voice lessons, professional photo shoots, networking events. It was like my parents were assembling the perfect pop star package. Meanwhile, I was left to figure out where I fit into this family dynamic. I wasn't bad at music. If anything, I was better. But Evelyn and Richard couldn't risk my talent overshadowing Anna's. They never said it outright, but it was obvious. Anytime I sang at school events or talent shows, my mother's compliments always felt restrained. That was nice, Eleanor, but don't you think that song might suit Anna's voice better? That was the way it always went. Me writing songs in the dark, her performing them under the spotlight. When my parents sat me down in the living room to deliver the news, they framed it like an opportunity. We've decided to send you to St. Margaret's Academy, Evelyn said, her voice dripping with forced enthusiasm. It's an elite boarding school with incredible academic programs. This is going to be amazing for your future, Eleanor. I should have been excited, but something felt off. It wasn't like they'd ever talked about my education as a priority before. And what about Anna? Why wasn't she going to St. Margaret's too? Anna sat on the couch beside me, her expression carefully neutral. I'll miss you so much, she said, placing a hand over mine. But there was no sadness in her eyes. She didn't protest, didn't argue for me to stay. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about my future. This was about Anna. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole situation gnawed at me. I slipped out of bed and wandered downstairs, thinking maybe I could distract myself with a midnight snack. That's when I heard voices coming from the kitchen. I know it's hard, but this is what's best for Anna, my mom was saying. Eleanor's too much competition. If they both try to break into the music industry, it'll just divide the attention. We need to give Anna every advantage, my dad added. Eleanor's talented, but she'll have other opportunities. She's not as marketable. I froze, my heart sinking. They didn't even bother hiding the truth. I wasn't being sent away for my future, I was being removed. I crept back upstairs, fighting tears. That night, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't let their betrayal define me. If they didn't want me to shine, I'd find a way to do it on my own. The next morning, as I packed my bags, Anna hovered in the doorway of my room. I'm going to miss you so much, she said, her voice trembling with just enough emotion to sound convincing. I looked at her, trying to find a crack in her perfect facade. Did she feel guilty? Did she know what our parents had said? Or was she okay with being the reason I was leaving? I'll write to you, I said, forcing a smile. We should stay in touch. I can send you some of my new songs if you want. Her eyes lit up. I'd love that, she said, and for a moment I thought maybe she genuinely cared, but deep down, I knew better. As I hugged her goodbye, I felt a mix of love and resentment. Anna had always been my sister, my best friend in some ways, but she was also complicit in this. And as much as I wanted to hate her, I couldn't. Not yet. As the car pulled away from the house, I stared out the window, clutching my journal like a lifeline. I didn't know what St. Margaret's would be like or how I'd survive without the comfort of home. But one thing was clear, I wasn't going to let this break me. If my parents thought they could silence me, they were wrong. They may have sent me away to keep me out of Anna's shadow, but I was determined to find my own light, even if I had to create it from scratch. I had imagined a lot of things about boarding school: strict teachers, endless studying, maybe even a roommate who'd turn into my new best friend. What I hadn't expected was how lonely it would feel. St. Margaret's Academy was as prestigious as my parents had promised, with ivy-covered buildings and hallways lined with portraits of past graduates who had gone on to achieve greatness. But no matter how many people filled the classrooms, I felt like I didn't belong. Unlike Anna, who thrived in the spotlight, I wasn't used to being completely alone. The first few weeks were the hardest. I kept my head down, went to my classes, and avoided socializing. I resented my parents for sending me away, resented Anna for going along with it, and most of all, I resented myself for feeling so lost. The only place where I felt remotely like myself was the music room. Late at night, when the halls were quiet and most students were asleep, I would sneak into the music room, sit at the grand piano, and pour my emotions into melodies. I didn't need an audience. I didn't need applause. For the first time in my life, music wasn't about competition. It was just mine. One night, I sang a song I had written before leaving home, a song about feeling invisible, about wanting to be seen. My voice was raw, filled with all the hurt I had bottled up. When I finished, I let the last note linger in the air, a part of me hoping someone, anyone, had heard. And someone had. The slow clap startled me. I turned to see a man standing at the doorway, tall with salt and pepper hair and the kind of presence that demanded attention. "I hope you don't mind," he said, stepping inside. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but that was remarkable. I swallowed hard, feeling exposed. I didn't know anyone was listening. He smiled, leaning against the piano. "I'm Mr. Carter. I teach music theory and vocal performance here. And you, Eleanor, have something special." I wasn't used to that kind of praise, at least not when it was directed at me and not Anna. "Thanks," I muttered. Mr. Carter sat on the piano bench beside me. "You have real talent, but you're holding back." I stiffened. "What do you mean?" "You're singing like someone who's afraid to take up space," he said simply. "Like someone who's been told they're not good enough." I looked down, my fingers pressing lightly on the piano keys. "Because I have been." Mr. Carter studied me for a moment before saying, "I think you're capable of much more than you believe. And if you're willing, I'd like to help you find out just how powerful your voice really is." For the first time since arriving at St. Margaret's, I felt a spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. It wasn't just Mr. Carter who helped me find my voice. There was also Maya and Jordan. Maya was a music producer in the making, obsessed with sound mixing and digital production. She had a wild sense of humor and a knack for making even the most complicated software seem easy. Jordan was a guitarist with a natural talent for melodies. He had a quiet confidence about him, never feeling the need to prove himself to anyone. We met in the music room one afternoon when Mr. Carter introduced us, saying we might be able to learn something from each other. At first, I wasn't sure how I fit into their dynamic. But then Maya played around with some of my songs, adding beats and layers I'd never considered. And suddenly, everything clicked. "This is insane," I whispered, listening to one of my songs transformed into something completely new. Jordan grinned. "Told you your voice was something special." For the first time, I believed him. As the weeks went on, I threw myself into music like never before. I experimented with different styles, wrote new songs, and pushed my vocal range beyond anything I had tried before. One evening, as Maya and I sat in her dorm room, she suddenly turned to me with a gleam in her eye. "You should upload your music." I blinked. "What?" "Online," she said. "You have something unique, Eleanor. People would love this." I hesitated. The idea of putting my voice out there terrified me. "But what if Anna finds out?" Maya finished. "Easy. We don't use your name and you wear a mask." And that's how Nova Ellis was born. We created an anonymous music account, tweaking my voice just enough to add a layer of mystery. Maya handled the production. Jordan played guitar on a few tracks, and I poured every ounce of my soul into the music. At first, it was just a fun experiment. But then, something crazy happened. People started listening. Strangers commented on my lyrics, telling me they resonated. The follower count kept growing. A small online fan base began forming, all while my family had no idea that the girl they had cast aside was slowly making a name for herself. For the first time, I didn't feel like Anna's shadow. I was my own person. And this was just the beginning. I hadn't spoken to my family in months, but I still kept up with the news, not because I wanted to, but because Anna was everywhere. Her face was plastered on billboards, music charts, and entertainment magazines. The music industry's brightest new star, Anna Bennett, the voice of a generation. Every headline felt like a slap in the face. At first, I had been proud. Despite everything, she was still my sister. But then I heard her first hit single, and my world stopped. The song wasn't just familiar, it was mine. The lyrics, the melody, the emotions behind it. I had written every single word. I sat frozen, listening as Anna's voice filled the room. She was singing my words, words I had poured into letters and sent to her, never thinking for a second that she would steal them. I remembered writing that song one lonely night in the music room, aching with homesickness. I had shared it with Anna because I thought she understood me, because I still believed in our bond as sisters. Now she was standing on a stage, basking in the applause, while the world praised her genius songwriting. No credit, no acknowledgement, just pure, blatant theft. I turned off the screen, my hands shaking with rage. It wasn't just one song either. As I listened to more of Anna's tracks, I recognized pieces of myself in every single one. Lyrics from my old journal, melodies I had hummed absent-mindedly over the phone during rare calls home. She had taken everything. And my parents? Of course, they were front and center in every interview, gushing about how proud they were of their star daughter. I felt sick. For years, they had made me feel invisible, sending me away under the pretense of giving me a better education while ensuring Anna had the spotlight. But this was a whole new level of betrayal. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her, to expose her right then and there, but I didn't. Because I realized something. If Anna had needed my songs to succeed, what did that say about her talent? She had the fame, the resources, the connections, but she couldn't even make it on her own. I was the real talent. And if she thought she could silence me forever, she was wrong. I spent that night in Maya's dorm room, pacing back and forth as I told her everything. She stole them. Every single song. I fumed. I sent them to her, and she used them like they were her own. Maya frowned, scrolling through Anna's discography on her laptop. Yeah, I've been listening to some of these. The production is solid, but it doesn't sound real, you know? It's like someone trying too hard to be deep. Because she doesn't feel the words, I muttered. I did. I lived them. Maya shut her laptop and turned to me. So, what are you going to do? I took a deep breath. The old me, the forgotten sister, the one who had always played second to Anna, would have cried and let it go. But I wasn't her anymore. I was Nova Ellis. I'm not going to confront her, I said. But not yet. Maya raised an eyebrow. You're just going to let her keep stealing from you? No, I smiled, a slow, determined smirk forming on my lips. I'm going to make sure everyone knows who the real star is. I'm going to surpass her. Maya grinned. Now that's the energy I like to hear. From that moment on, I threw myself into my music like never before. I sharpened my songwriting, making each lyric more personal, more raw. I experimented with my sound, pushing boundaries. With Maya's expertise in music production and Jordan's haunting guitar skills, we created something that was completely me. And unlike Anna, I didn't have to steal. I wrote songs that people felt, that resonated, that told the truth, and soon the world would hear them. The first time I uploaded a song as Nova Ellis, I wasn't expecting much. I had a small but loyal following, and my music had been circulating in underground indie circles for a while. But something changed when I released Echoes in the Dark. Maya had fine-tuned the production to perfection. Jordan's haunting guitar riffs gave it a raw edge, and my lyrics spoke to something deeper than just heartbreak. It wasn't just a song, it was a reckoning, and the world listened. Within a week, the track went viral. It started on TikTok, with users making emotional edits and reaction videos. Then music bloggers picked it up, analyzing the poetic lyrics and the mystery behind Nova Ellis, the artist with no face. By the time the song hit mainstream streaming platforms, it had millions of plays. That's when the record labels started calling. The industry was obsessed with Nova Ellis. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why did she hide her face? Some speculated I was an industry plant. Others thought I was a veteran artist using a secret alias. But no one knew the truth. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Unlike Anna, who relied on over the top branding and staged interviews, I let my music speak for itself. Just lyrics that told a story. And my mysterious identity was working wonders for marketing. And fans connected to that. They dissected my words, found hidden meanings, and built theories around my songs. The mystery fueled the hype, but it was the authenticity that kept them hooked. Soon I had a full album ready, and with Maya's help, I negotiated a record deal on my terms. I wouldn't show my face, I wouldn't do staged PR stunts, and I wouldn't change my sound to fit a manufactured image. If they wanted Nova Ellis, they had to take me exactly as I was, and they agreed. The album launched with staggering numbers, debuting at #2 on the charts, right behind Anna. That fact alone made my blood simmer. I had built everything from the ground up. No rich parents, no industry handouts, no stolen lyrics. Just raw talent and persistence. And yet, Anna still had the edge. For now, with Maya working magic on the production and Jordan's guitar weaving through every song, my music had its own signature sound, one that fans were falling in love with. The media started drawing comparisons between Nova Ellis and Anna Bennett. Who was the real voice of the generation? Critics praised my songwriting as breathtakingly personal and unlike anything in the industry today. Fans dissected every lyric, pulling meaning from the poetry I had written in dark dorm rooms late at night. And the best part? Anna had no idea it was me. The moment I saw her again, I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, just a deep, unwavering resolve. It was an industry event, one of those high-profile galas where everyone who was anyone in music gathered. I had been invited as Nova Ellis, the rising star. Anna was there as the industry's darling. From across the room, I watched as she laughed, basking in the spotlight like she always did. Then she stepped onto the stage to perform her latest hit, a hit that had my lyrics. I clenched my fists, but I didn't move. I just watched. She sang the words with perfect technique but no real emotion, because they had never been hers to begin with. And as the audience cheered, I made a silent vow. This wasn't over. I wasn't done. The world was going to know the truth. And when that moment came, Anna wouldn't just lose her spotlight. She'd lose everything. The night before the biggest performance of my life, I stood on the balcony of my penthouse suite, overlooking the glittering skyline of Los Angeles. The city pulsed with energy, cars honking, neon lights flickering, the hum of life filling the air. In the distance, the venue where tomorrow's award show would take place loomed like a beacon, its name flashing in bold letters across an enormous screen. This was it. For years, I had watched from the shadows as Anna took credit for my work. Now, under my new identity as Nova Ellis, I would finally take back what was mine. I ran my fingers along the cool steel railing, taking a slow, measured breath. This is just the beginning, I whispered to myself. Tomorrow, the world would know the truth. The media was already in a frenzy. Who is Nova Ellis? The question had dominated every entertainment news segment for weeks. My masked performances, my hauntingly familiar lyrics, and my refusal to reveal my face had fueled endless speculation. There were theories, so many theories. Some believed I was an established artist experimenting under a new identity. Others were convinced I was an industry plant designed to shake up the charts. But the best theory, the one that sent a shiver of anticipation down my spine, people were starting to notice the similarities between my music and Anna's. Threads on social media compared lyrics, melodies, even the emotions behind each song. Why does Nova's music sound so much like Anna's older work? Is it possible that Nova Ellis is the real songwriter? What if Nova Ellis is someone from Anna's past? Every comment, every article, every whispered suspicion brought me closer to my goal. And the best part? Anna had no idea what was coming. The night before the award show, my phone buzzed. Blocked number, I already knew who it was. I hesitated for a moment before answering, letting the silence stretch. Then, with deliberate slowness, I pressed the phone to my ear. Hello? A sharp inhale, a pause. Then, Nova Ellis? Anna's voice. It had been years since I'd heard it this close, but I would recognize it anywhere. I leaned against the plush couch, keeping my voice even. That's me. There was another pause, a longer one. Then, your music, she began, her tone carefully neutral, but I could hear the edge of something else beneath it. Unease. I smirked. Good. Yes? I prompted. Some of your lyrics are familiar. Familiar. The word nearly made me laugh. She wasn't wrong. They were familiar. They were mine. Are they? I asked, my tone light, teasing even. Anna exhaled sharply, the sound crackling through the receiver. I imagined her sitting in her mansion, phone clutched in a trembling hand, trying to piece together what she already knew deep down. Who are you? She demanded. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, letting the moment stretch before responding. Just someone who used to sing in the shadows. Then, before she could respond, I did something I knew would shake her to her core. I sang just a single line. A lyric from a song we wrote together as kids. A song never released, never performed, a melody that only she and I knew. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, no. The word was barely a whisper. I smiled. See you tomorrow, Anna. And I hung up. Let her sit with that. By the time the day of the award show arrived, the air buzzed with anticipation. Fans camped outside the venue, waving signs and posters, some for Anna, but many for Nova Ellis. Security escorted me through the back entrance, keeping my identity hidden as always. The crew rushed around in a frenzy, stagehands adjusting lights, sound engineers testing equipment, assistants running on caffeine and anxiety. In my dressing room, Maya paced, checking the schedule on her tablet. Your performance is right after Anna's, she reminded me. Perfect, I murmured, adjusting the silver mask that covered the upper half of my face. Jordan, my guitarist, leaned against the vanity, arms crossed. You sure you want to do this? Exposing her in front of everyone? I met his gaze in the mirror, my single visible eye burning with determination. I don't just want to do this, I need to. Maya exhaled, nodding. Then let's make history. The auditorium was packed, the cameras panned across the audience, celebrities in designer gowns, industry executives, flashing lights and roaring applause. Backstage, I watched from the shadows as Anna took the stage. She looked confident, radiant, basking in the attention. She sang one of my songs, a song that had once been nothing more than scribbles in my notebook, now performed in front of thousands, millions if you counted the live broadcast. But this time, I didn't feel anger. I felt anticipation, because she didn't know what was coming next. As the final notes of her song faded, the applause thundered. She smiled, waving to the audience, completely unaware that her world was about to shift. Then, the stage lights dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd. The giant screens flashed with a single name, Nova Ellis. The audience erupted in cheers. And as the first haunting notes of my song filled the room, I stepped into the spotlight. It was time. Backstage, the air was thick with energy. I could hear the roar of the audience, the flashes of cameras, the muffled voices of reporters buzzing about the event of the night. My hands were steady, but my heart pounded in my chest. Maya stood next to me, holding up a final confirmation of the performance order. You ready? She asked. I met her gaze in the mirror, where Nova Ellis's reflection stared back. Except this time, for the first time, I was going on stage without the mask. More than ever. This was it. The moment the world and my family would finally see me. The audience was still murmuring about Anna's performance when the house lights dimmed. The stage was cast in shadows and a hush fell over the crowd. A single spotlight beamed down on center stage as the massive LED screens flickered. 3 words flashed across them in bold white letters. Nova Ellis. A ripple of anticipation swept through the arena. Whispers filled the space. Fans had been waiting for this moment, desperate to finally put a face to the name. The intro to my song began, a soft, familiar melody. The very same melody Anna had stolen. And then I stepped onto the stage, gasps, shock. The camera zoomed in on my face, my uncovered face, revealing what nobody had expected. It wasn't just Nova Ellis standing before them. It was Eleanor, the sister who had disappeared, the shadow that had been cast aside, the girl who had been erased so Anna could shine. The entire world had been waiting to find out Nova Ellis's true identity, and the moment they realized, they lost it. From my position on stage, I could see everything. Anna frozen in the front row, her mouth slightly open, eyes wide in horror. My parents, seated beside her, staring as if they had just seen a ghost. The cameras caught it all, their shock, their disbelief, the moment realization hit. And I hadn't even started singing yet. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and began. This was never your song to sing. The opening line cut through the silence like a blade. A murmur rippled through the crowd. People knew this song. It had been one of Anna's biggest hits. Except it wasn't hers. It was mine. And now, for the first time, the world was hearing it from the real writer. I poured every ounce of emotion into my voice, letting the years of betrayal, the heartbreak, the injustice bleed into each note. The audience was captivated, their phones held high, recording history in real time. By the time I reached the final chorus, people were on their feet, singing along, not for Anna, but for me. The moment the last note faded, the arena exploded. Screams, applause, cheering so loud it rattled the walls. I let the sound wash over me, let the years of being unseen crumble beneath the weight of this, of finally being known. I let the applause settle, stepping toward the microphone with deliberate slowness. That song, I said, voice steady, was written by me. Every lyric, every note, A shocked silence fell over the room. For years, I continued, I wrote music, believing I was sharing my heart with my sister. I sent her my songs, my words, my melodies, and every single one of them ended up stolen. Gasps. Cameras cut to Anna, whose face had gone pale. My parents, whispering frantically. I turned to the massive screen behind me. Let me show you something. The screen flickered, and suddenly, the audience was watching old footage. Clips of my handwritten lyrics, timestamps of my emails, voice recordings I had sent to Anna over the years. Proof. Undeniable, irrefutable proof that I was the true songwriter behind so many of Anna's hits. The crowd roared. The livestream chat exploded. #AnnaExposed was already trending. Anna's career, her entire identity, was unraveling in real time. She tried to stand, as if to argue, but the damage was already done. I had taken back what was mine, and the whole world had witnessed it. I turned my gaze to Anna, finally meeting her eyes across the distance between the stage and her seat. For the first time in our lives, I was the one standing in the light, and she was the one left in the shadows. I saw the moment panic set in. She scrambled to her feet, trying to salvage the moment. "That's not true," she shouted, her voice shaking. You were just helping. You sent those songs because you wanted to be part of my success." Lies. More lies. The audience booed. My lips curled into a smirk. "Is that right?" I said, tilting my head. "Then tell me, Anna, why did you never credit me? Why did you tell the world those words were yours?" She opened her mouth, closed it. There was no answer, because there was no justification. Only guilt, only exposure. My parents looked just as stunned. My mother reached for Anna's hand, but my father was staring at me as if I were a stranger. Good, because I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was Nova Ellis, and I had just destroyed everything they had built. I could have stayed, could have watched Anna crumble under the weight of her own lies, but I didn't need to. I had won. So I turned away, facing the audience one last time. "Thank you," I said simply, my voice carrying through the mic. Then, as the applause rose again, I walked off stage. Head high, shoulders back, free, and for the first time in my life, seen. The morning after the award show, the music industry erupted. Every entertainment blog, media outlet, and social media platform was plastered with headlines. Anna's biggest hits exposed as stolen. Nova Ellis's shocking revelation rocks the music world. Anna's fall from grace, fraud scandal unveiled. Executives from Anna's record label were the first to act. By noon, they released a statement distancing themselves from her, announcing an internal review into her catalog of work. Her scheduled tour dates were quietly canceled. Invitations to high-profile collaborations disappeared overnight. Brands she had partnered with issued public apologies, cutting ties to salvage their own reputations. Past collaborators started coming forward, eager to avoid being painted with the same brush. Songwriters and producers who had worked with Anna spoke to the press, admitting they always found her creative process suspicious. In less than 48 hours, Anna had gone from one of the industry's brightest stars to a cautionary tale of deceit. I wasn't surprised when my parents called. For years, they had conditioned me to believe family came first, when it benefited them. The phone rang incessantly, but I ignored it until my voicemail was full of pleading messages. Finally, after hours of relentless calls, I answered. "Eleanor," my mother said, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." I could hear the panic in her tone, but I wasn't moved. "I don't think there's much left to say," I replied coldly. "You've done enough damage," my father cut in sharply. "What were you thinking, humiliating Anna like that? She's your sister." I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, now you care about family? Where was that concern when you sent me away so Anna could have everything?" "That's not fair," my mother said, her voice cracking. "You're sisters. You need to fix this. Help her before it's too late." "Fix this?" I repeated, incredulous. "The only thing I did was tell the truth. Anna made her choices. So did you." They tried everything, blaming me, guilt-tripping me, even crying. "This isn't just about Anna," my father finally said, his voice softer. "This affects all of us. The family name, our reputation." "Your reputation means nothing to me anymore," I snapped. "For once you can deal with the consequences of your own actions. I'm done cleaning up your messes." For the first time in my life, I hung up on them. While I was standing my ground, Anna was facing the full weight of the storm. Her Instagram comments were flooded with accusations of betrayal. Fans who once adored her now called her a fraud. She tried to fight back at first. She issued a vague statement claiming she had collaborated with me on those songs and never intended to mislead anyone. But it only made things worse. Fans demanded receipts. Journalists dug deeper, uncovering even more songs she had stolen. Old drafts, voice notes, lyrics scrawled in my teenage handwriting. Eventually, Anna did what she always did when things didn't go her way. She broke down. Her publicist released a formal apology on her behalf, filled with empty platitudes about learning from mistakes and wanting to rebuild trust. But the damage was already done. Anna's credibility was shattered. Her album sales plummeted. Venues hosting her concerts canceled outright, citing a loss of audience interest. Her former fans burned her merchandise in viral TikToks, using my songs as the background audio. It was hard to watch at times. Even after everything she had done, a small part of me pitied her. But then I'd remember the years of silence, the stolen songs, the condescending smiles. She wasn't the victim here. I heard through mutual friends that Anna was holed up at our parents' house, too embarrassed to leave. Our mother called me again, this time begging for money to help Anna get back on her feet. "I don't owe her, or you, anything," I told her flatly. "But she's your sister," she cried. "She's suffering?" "So did I said quietly. "For years. You didn't care then." There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was sharp. "You're just bitter," she spat. "We did what we had to do for Anna because she had the real potential. You were just too much." There it was, the truth, laid bare. "You chose her," I said softly, "and now you can live with that choice." I hung up again. While Anna faded into obscurity, my career as Nova Ellis soared. The story of my reveal had gone viral. Fans hailed me as a hero for standing up for myself, and the industry admired my resilience and raw talent. My album sales skyrocketed. Brands lined up for collaborations. My name was everywhere, not as Eleanor, Anna's forgotten twin, but as Nova Ellis, the artist who refused to be silenced. Every interview request asked the same question. "How do you feel about Anna's downfall?" "I don't think about it," I'd reply honestly. "I'm focused on my own journey now." And it was true. Months passed. My parents stopped calling. Anna disappeared from the public eye entirely. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not just from their expectations, but from the pain of being unseen. because now the whole world could see me, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. The fallout had been messy, yes, but it wasn't my responsibility to clean it up. Anna, my parents, their entire fragile house of cards, they had built it on lies. I had simply told the truth, and that truth had set me free.